Welcome to the discussion for Part 5, Chapter 3. In this chapter, we see what Pyotr Petrovitch has really been up to and why he wanted to get Sonia in a room, why he wanted Lebeziatnikov to stay, and what he's actually been up to and his reasoning. So when Pyotr Petrovitch comes into the room, at first, Katerina Ivanova is so happy because she feels like she's been wronged by the landlady once again. And she's like, oh, protect me. Like he's, an honorable guest in her eyes and that he will see her side against this ridiculous German landlady who's always harassing her. But then the tone quickly changes because his tone is very businesslike and it's clear that he is not there to be part of the funeral party. He's not there to take her side. He's there to accuse Sofya Semyonovna of stealing a 100-ruble note. And he says, he goes through the whole scenario of what had taken place in the meeting and how Lebeziatnikov was there and was a witness to his counting his bank notes and how he was there when he gave Sofya the 10-pound note and how he can attest to all these things that had happened in the room. And he said, after you left the room and I went back to my bank notes, there was a 100-pound or 100-ruble note missing. And so I'm giving you a chance to confess and I'll leave it at that. And she's just blindsided. She's like, she's already a shy person. And to be falsely accused in this way, she's like, I didn't take it. You gave me the 10 rubles. Here, you take the 10 rubles back. And he doesn't take it from her. And he says, this is very serious. And he keeps pressing the point. He's talking to everybody in the room. And he's like, I'm going to give you a chance to do this. And he's lecturing her on how terrible of a person it would be to steal this, especially after he was so kind to her. And now it's come to this. And if she's not going to confess, then he has no choice but to bring in the police. And he tells the landlady to go get the porter and to call the police. And at this, Katerina Ivanova is just beside herself. She starts freaking out and saying, my Sonia would never do this. She's the sweetest girl you'd ever know. She'd sell her last rag for anyone in this room. She's not a thief. She's done everything super over the top in Katerina Ivanova style, and saying this to people who actually do know Sonia. And so kind of, reaching out to them to get their confirmation that Sonia's not known typically as a thief. But of course, the landlady's like, oh, I knew she was a thief. And he says, perfect, you'll be my witness that this has been her reputation and that will strengthen my case. And Katerina Ivanova goes and she's like, look, I'll pull out her pockets and you'll see she doesn't have anything. She's been sitting next to me the whole time. She would have to have the money on her. And as she does this, all wrapped up, very tiny, 100-pound note does fall from her pocket. And this is shocking to Sonia, of course. She doesn't understand how it got there. And Pyotr Petrovitch is like, I knew it. And he's like, okay, well, now we go to the courts. And Katerina Ivanova is still like, no, this isn't, I don't know what's going on here, but this isn't my Sonia. She doesn't believe it for a minute. Sonia's just in shock. And then out of nowhere, out of the doorway, Lebeziatnikov comes in and he's like, it was you. And Luzhin is shocked all of a sudden to hear Lebeziatnikov because he didn't know that he had been in the doorway watching this whole scene. And he's like, I saw you. I saw you put it in her pocket secretly when she was walking out of the room. You held her hand and with your other hand, you slipped that into her pocket and she didn't know it. Said, that's why I'm coming out here, because I was worried that she would accidentally lose it, not knowing that it was in her pocket. And then I come into this speech that you're giving where you're accusing her of taking it. He is just blown away, but he's really furious. And Luzhin is like, oh, like, why would you think that? You can barely even see. You were all the way across the room. You wouldn't have been able to see that if I would have done it. He's like, no, I did see it because I was watching you, because I saw you take the 100-pound note off the table when you took the 10, and I saw you give her the 10. And so I watched what you would do with the 100-pound note. I saw you fold it up. I saw that it never left your hand. and that same hand, you switched it. He watched the whole course of events, and I saw you put it in her pocket. And that was why Lebeziatnikov came up to him and said, wow, I'm really impressed. It wasn't about the 10 ruble note. It was about the 100 ruble note, and that he had done it secretly because, we all know that Peter Petrovitch is a very conceited man. And so it was surprising to Lebeziatnikov that he would give this 100-pound note and not want the gratitude that would have come from giving such a large sum. Like, why would he give the small note and then secretly give the 100-pound? And Lebeziatnikov says, I've been trying to figure it out this whole time. Like, what was the purpose? Was it because you didn't want me to know because that's against my commune principles? Was it because you were wanting to give her a surprise that she would find later? Were you hoping to see if she would come back and thank you properly, like you felt like you would have been owed after that? He said, I've been trying to figure out why you would do it. And now I see that this is why you've done it, to accuse her, but I can't figure out why. Like, why would you want to accuse her of stealing it from you when you put it there yourself? And then Raskolnikov finally speaks up. He's been silent this whole time. He's been watching Sonia very closely and watching Luzhin. And he says, I know why. And he tells the people in the room, this man was engaged to my sister, and he came to see me, and I could see right through him and exactly what he was. And I threw him out of my lodging. And I told him I did not approve of this marriage. And to get back at me, he wrote to my mother and said that I had given money not to Katerina Ivanova for the funeral, which is what I had done, but he said that I gave it to Sonia, and implied that there was a nefarious reason why I gave it to her, that I had this relationship with her, and that I gave it to her for reasons that everyone in the room understands what the implication was. And he says that then we met and it came up, and he was continuously rude to them, and my sister broke off the engagement. And he perpetrated this whole farce in order to prove to them that Sonia is not only what he said, but worse, and to drive a further wedge between me and my family, and to get in back in good with my sister, to resume the engagement, to go through with the engagement. He's trying to make my family disavow me because of my relationship with this woman, Sonia. And he perpetrated all of this for that reason. And everybody's like, yeah, that makes sense, especially Lebeziatnikov, who knows for a fact that was true, that the engagement was broken off, that Peter Petrovitch has not been himself since that happened. And so it has the ring of truth because there are other pieces that he knows are true. And Peter Petrovitch doesn't admit to any of this. He continues on with this, he's aggrieved. He's going, I'll see you in court type of a thing. Basically like, you people, who are they going to believe? It kind of has the ring of like, who are they going to believe? Me, upstanding Peter Petrovitch lawyer, or you people who are drunk and, this German can't speak English, and, all of this. And he leaves, and Sonia is just sobbing because she's finally realizing what had almost happened. And she is somebody that has faith in justice, has faith in truth. And even though she's never really seen justice, she believes in it, and she feels like she will be protected from injustice. And then this happened. And so it's very shocking to her, and she's just sobbing, and she leaves. And Raskolnikov decides that he's going to leave and he is going to go see her. And he had said next time that he saw her, he was going to tell her who had killed Lizaveta. And so he, I think, is going to take this chance to make that confession and see where that lands. But as far as Peter Petrovitch, his plan did not work. And the last thing that happened was the landlady, being so humiliated, she starts kicking Katerina Ivanova out, telling her she's got to leave. She starts grabbing all Katerina Ivanova's things, throwing them to the floor, telling her that she wants her out. And Katerina Ivanova says, you're supposed to protect me. Orphans and widows are supposed to be protected, and I'm going to get justice somewhere. There's somewhere that I can get justice, and I'm going. And she puts on the, now famous green shawl, and she leaves. And so this is, this is the state of the room. We've got the landlady yelling and throwing everything around, the children cowering in the corner, the guys there that are drunk, Lebeziatnikov, who's, shocked and angry, and Raskolnikov leaves to follow Sonia home. So meet me in part 5, chapter 4, and we will find out what happens next.